Hello and welcome to What We're Watching. It's Katherine.
And Liz.
And Ed.
And John.
Okay, so I'm going to start with, I'm not all the way done, but Three Body Problem.
I finished it.
Ooh.
Okay, see, I'm so jealous. So John and I are watching it with my husband, Eric.
True.
I do need to interrupt really quickly and say there is a problem with the three-body problem.
Oh, no.
There's only 3 bodies in this room that has watched it. I haven't watched it yet, so I'm going to listen, but not remember anything.
That's a 4-body problem.
Yes.
No, we have a 1-body problem with the 3-body problem.
Yeah.
All right, got it. Yes, we'll try not to do any spoilers, right? Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff out there already.
Well, I can't spoil the end because I don't know it.
I
true.
can, but
Yeah, I can't.
I'll try not to.
Okay. I am very intrigued at this point because, John, what are we, halfway through? How many episodes are there? I can't remember at this point. Are there 8?
I think there's only going to be 8 episodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would this be a spoiler to ask? Are we going to get a season 2?
Season 7.
I know. I almost said season 7. I don't know where 7 came from.
It's 8 episodes, and it is left in a way that there should be a season 2.
Okay.
It's not resolved. Now, this is on Netflix. It's a sci-fi.
Correct.
And it's
Sorry, I
based
should
on a
have said
book.
that.
Chinese sci-fi writer.
Yes, I
Yeah.
should have said all that.
Yep.
But I apparently didn't. So thank you, Liz.
You're welcome.
We are on episode 6. We're 3/4 of the way through.
Oh, you're basically almost done. And now, what I think is really fascinating, it's from the creators of Game of Thrones. So this was their not a Star Wars project.
Yeah.
This was their follow-up project to Game of Thrones. So it is a big sort of all-encompassing world, contemporary time, though.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. So it's David Benioff and it's D.B. Weiss, I think, are the 2 creators of Game of Thrones.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so I watched some interviews with them as well of why they picked this material. And, because it's on an ensemble, which they obviously like. Like I said, it's a very large scope. It's dealing with huge issues.
And they didn't hire any crossover actors, so we understand.
The 2 main actors that we would know from Game of Thrones are John Bradley. Mm-hmm. He's great in this. I particularly loved, what was his Jack Snacks or something? His company. He was very rich. This character, great character. And then also we have Liam Cunningham, who I can't remember who he was in Game of Thrones. He was like
The Onion Knight, how could you?
The Onion Knight. Okay, all right. So it's very fun to see them in a very different context. I will say there's something much more like Westworld about this in terms of like a big scope and and also the music for the theme.
Well, okay, so 3-body problem, it starts off with, like, we need to say a little bit of what it's about, Katherine.
Sure. You want to set it up?
So, scientists are in jeopardy.
Yeah, science in general is in jeopardy.
And are they knocking themselves off? Or is there a more maniacal element causing them to kill themselves? And this group of friends, all brainiacs.
Yeah, friends from school.
Young, they all seem to be, 30, no more than like 32 or 33 years old. And they are going to cure the planet of all of its ails.
Right, like there's a physicist and then somebody working on a nanotech project.
All very interesting. Mm-hmm. And another one's sort of like a philosopher within the science world. So it's always challenging, like, should we be doing this? Mm-hmm. Basically, you have, like I said, scientists are getting knocked off one way or the other. And what does that mean and why is it happening?
Well, and there's also a big technical problem that's all of the CERN, what are those particle accelerators, have gone wonky and all of their results make no sense.
Right.
Which I didn't even realize there were so many particle accelerators in the world. They're saying like 60 or something. And I was like, what? I thought there was like 1.
Well, I mean... know. This is fiction, so
I know,
that we're
also
not
like kind of the future.
Don't
right?
take our word for it.
Yeah,
There's actually 60 of those, and I mean,
correct.
Right. So, and then the bigger question is why this is happening. What's the maniacal? What's the altered force that's causing this? And it becomes, this is a spoiler. It's aliens.
It is aliens.
Okay.
And apparently it started many decades ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Go on.
Now, I did love this part, and it was primarily in the first 2, I don't know if it went into the 3rd episode. It's talking about the Chinese revolution into basically fascism.
Yeah, the communist revolution.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so artists and scientists and, what was the cost to them. And really, quite honestly, it was being put to labor camps. So one of the main characters, that's who we basically go back in time with to see what happened to her during the Cultural Revolution in China.
Right.
And
So she's a scientist, and we're tracking what she was up to in like the 1960s-ish.
astrophysicist. And her dad was a scientist and basically got killed in like one of the squares in front of the people. Like, it was pretty horrible, actually. Now, at some point, China decides to pull her out of the labor camp and use some of her actual talent and brain power.
Yeah, they put her to work in a station of some kind.
Which I do love. Contact is one of my favorite movies. It's like, let's just aim the big telescope into the sky, send a message, and see who answers.
Anyone? We're sending it out.
And then, of course, we've always got the, someone's just sitting there listening to the static. Can I hear anything? And of course, it's like the main character. It's not some grunt in the middle at 3 a.m. It's the main character who's able to decipher or hear something. Now, put into perspective, she's pissed at China, killed her father, put her in a labor camp.
Doesn't like where everything's going.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Are you guys sure this isn't a Star Wars movie?
well, Ed, you're not far off. Okay. But so here's the deal. Of course, she's the one that hears like a message like, hello, are you there? He'll say exactly like that. Hello, are you there? We want to be friends.
Actually, they said, not we want to be friends. They said, you should not be contacting us. This is going to go real bad for you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell anyone that I saw this message.
It's literally like a housewife on this other planet's like, what? Oh, honey.
You don't want to.
We are a mess here. Okay, you don't want us coming there bringing all our dirty laundry. Just let's hang up and act like
we're gonna take
we
you down.
never talked. Okay, bye. You're calling back? What?
Yeah. She then is like, no, I think it would be better if you did come. Even though basically this alien contact has said, this is going to go very badly for you. So maybe don't do this. And she was like, no, I think maybe we should.
Because
come on
she's
over.
So despondent and disheartened by what's happened in her country, to her family, to what she thinks is the broader world. Because, China was so isolated. They just didn't, they thought, well, is this happening all over the world? Or the rest of the world is so lost, they don't care about us. So she was like, yeah, come burn us down, basically.
Yeah.
So
burn us down, but in her weird way, she was like, that would build us up or like fix things or whatever. So that's the setup. That's the backstory of like why these aliens are even on their way, and that she and her own little sort of cult essentially know that they're coming, right?
yes. So
Even though it's a real protracted timeline.
it's in 400 years, people.
Yeah.
So you know how I've always said, I'm not surviving a zombie apocalypse. I don't know about an alien invasion. I mean, one that's coming in 400 years.
You could be okay with.
But chaos ensues.
Chaos ensues, correct. Mhm.
The entire planet is like, oh my God, freaks out. And you're like, oh.
Well, that's this character played by Liam Cunningham, who he's like, yeah, I don't care that it's 400 years. We need to figure it out now and get ahead of it and figure out like how we can fix it. What, John?
I think Liz was referring to, mass hysteria in the streets.
Oh, yeah.
So Liam Cunningham does not have hysteria. Thank you very much.
No. He does not have hysteria, but he is very much like, yes, it's 400 years, but we need to worry about it now and actually come up with a plan to not let them take over.
And
basically.
this is where the young scientists that are alive sort of come into play to help solve this problem.
Can we also just touch on the three-body problem is actually specifically referring to this alien planet
Yes.
has 3 suns that are causing it to get pulled in multiple directions and cause a gravity problem, basically. And they have extremely unpredictable weather patterns and because their orbit's all screwed up. So that they basically, through kind of a game, introduced this idea. That was a little bit strange.
Okay. Now, there is technology that's here on Earth. So it's basically a head console that you put on. And I thought the effect was very well. It goes from like you're inside the console and you see the viewer's eyes, like 2 eyes, like, what's this? And whoop, it morphs into 1 eye. And it's very realistic to the point where you reach down and touch the sand. You're like, what?
Yeah, it's like way ahead of where we technically would be in this, timeline.
It's a test for the scientists to see how they think. Are they analytical? Like, can they understand the world? And it's like, each task that they get through, therefore the alien is trusting them more. Now, how these friggin' head consoles, the most advanced video game anybody's ever seen, get here? So that was a plot leap. We just had to embrace it and go, well, somehow it did. Okay.
And as you've seen the whole thing, you apparently know that they didn't answer that question, whereas Catherine and I, did not maybe not hope, but we thought, perhaps. But then look, they created on the place that the people were that we haven't named yet. Oh, so it's fine.
Are we not going to say that it's a boat?
Well, you did.
Oh, I don't think that's like a spoiler.
Okay, so there is a group of people, which goes all the way back to this scientist that sent the message from China. Now she's in London, and she's an operating scientist and having impact in the world. And she had met some billionaire who at the time was trying to solve, a species that was dying off on the planet, and then realized, well, if I use my family's oil money, maybe I'll have more impact. He turns out to be sort of the cult leader on this boat of people that, it's like the last Noah's Ark, okay? So they are aware of the aliens. They call them Lord, right?
Yeah, which is creepy.
It's a little Lord, like, hello, Lord. And he communicates with Lord, go in and have private conversations just on a microphone like this. And there's a very interesting philosophical conversation that happens about truth and lying and what we as human beings do with that. And as the aliens are very pragmatic, they don't do that nor understand it. Now, because going back to that Liam Cunningham character, who's like, he's like FBI, CIA, MI6,
MI5, whatever. He's above all
of that rolled in. He can
on
do
top.
it all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he ropes in this one scientist to basically use her nano fiber as a weapon. And of course, let's go back to the movie that brought it all, where those original questions as a youth, I was like, well, science can be used for evil.
Terminator?
True.
Tron.
True. All these movies, but the one that really gets your heart is Real Genius.
Real Genius? Wait a minute. I don't know if that...
It is. Because
popcorn will kill us.
Right. Because he created this amazing laser played by the actor
Val Kilmer.
Thank you. So Val Kilmer creates this fabulous laser that I don't know what he...
Always check your optics.
Right. Someone might have smudged. They thought, okay, what do you think he's going to cure? So it gets stolen by Bill Atherton, our mother's neighbor in real life. Mm-hmm. He plays such a jerk in this movie.
He's like the professor who's in charge of this group of super geniuses.
Right. Mm-hmm. So do I think that entire plot line was stolen from Real Genius in Three Body Problem? Yes, I do. So,
okay, wait. So back to
she's
Three Body
got her
Problem.
nanofiber.
Wait. Yeah, the nanofiber is
Yes.
going to be used for evil, which initially she was like, it can solve all these problems and fix all these things, and of course it's going to be turned into a weapon. But wait. I just want to say really quick, the Benedict Wong character is such a fun, curmudgeon-y detective of brilliance who is working for the Liam Cunningham character. So we get a lot of him. He's really like the main character because we're following him in this, he's dealing with everybody.
Because that scientist that created the nanofiber, we kind of start off with her, and it's played by Asa Gonzalez.
Who, by the way, gorgeous.
Beautiful.
I don't mean that you can't be gorgeous and a scientist, but she is a slightly
They
plausible.
are really good-looking scientists, is all of them. Seriously, it was like, wow, okay. And this starts out really creepy. She's having the test that's going to really prove her theory with the nanofiber.
Right.
And all of a sudden, she starts seeing numbers, a countdown in her mind, her head. And she's like, don't you guys see that? It's like, girl, no.
Girl, no. We don't see no countdown.
So... And of course, they've walked into some other scientist's room or house, and it's all the number countdowns written on the wall. So you're like, "What is this?"
Yeah, we as viewers had a clue, although we hadn't seen what a person who was seeing this in that fashion. But we'd seen this countdown thing in a different way. But she didn't know that.
Very disorientating, I'd imagine, to have a countdown to what? So she was very terrified of her nanofiber, and it basically was like, hey, scientists, stop doing your science.
Yeah, stop whatever you're working on before the countdown
we
gets to...
aliens will be nicer to you. Because it's revealed why the aliens want to stop science.
We don't want to tell the whole story, do we?
But
That's
I
what
don't
we're
care.
doing.
Because here's the deal. I will tell you that nanofiber, that son of a bitch, when it gets weaponized, that was by
terrifying.
far
Yeah.
one of the grossest mass murder scenes. I mean, that was this.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible.
So I'm not going to say how they used it, but it is disturbing.
Yeah.
And I understand why she smokes. Now I am going to go off on this. I'm going to go off on this.
There's a
And I
surprising amount of
understand
smoking.
why she wears yellow.
Yes.
I don't, but let's hear
She's
it.
got a
No,
lot
but
of
the smoking,
pressure, a lot of
yeah.
stress, okay? And she's a scientist, so you'd think she'd understand the
Maybe smoking is bad.
Yeah. But when I say there is so much smoking in this, like the detective and her are smoking indoors, like in a closed interrogation, like smoking at each other's faces. You're like, what is happening? And they're just caught, they're lighting up inside indoors with like zero consideration, and no one blinks an eye. Like, oh God.
I think there
take
might
it
have
outside.
been one moment where somebody said you can't smoke in here, and he's like, "Too bad," or "I'm going to," or
There
what.
was.
Yeah.
My sterile lab. I mean, it was just ridiculous. So I went, wait a minute. I had to do some investigating.
Oh.
So I know on network television, you are limited, very highly restricted to smoking cigarettes. It's like
Yes.
there's one caveat, one way, story-wise, I think you are able to have cigarettes in network television. So you're talking NBC, CBS, ABC. And I went, I bet the same restriction does not apply to streaming.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm wondering, because I'm telling you, it don't make sense these people are smoking as much as they are. It's almost distracting. I had to pause it and go on this rant and then go on this dive.
I mean, this is not the first time. You have had this problem over the last 3 months with certain things.
But
so-
now I've done the investigating
John, this is the third cigarette problem.
because
Third cigarette problem in 3 body problems.
because like I have a wide variety of people in my life, and cigarette smoking is just not. And if people still do smoke, there's like a consideration or almost like, yeah, let me go outside. Let me there's almost no indoor smoking allowed anywhere. So you're like, the idea that like this is so casually like just accepted.
Well, especially in a storyline that is futuristic, where like you went off on Maestro because there was a ton of smoking in Maestro, but that is historically accurate.
I went off on it because I felt so bad for the actors. I was like, I don't know what they're having. I don't know what herb they're using or clove or whatever. Like, I mean,
or
just
maybe they're just smoking.
oh my gosh, to just have to smoke that much would be challenging, right?
Well, I don't know if you guys remember this. This is going to be slightly off topic, but Dad once told me that he started smoking because he was hired to play a smoker. I think it was in a play or maybe it was a commercial. And that's how he initially started smoking and was a smoker for many years and then had to, force himself to quit when he realized it was so bad for him. But I mean, that's so weird, like that you could end up being in a project where you have to smoke.
I got a question for you. And I know this is coming from my perspective, which is like computer graphics and CG. Do you feel like there's any reason why you wouldn't just spend $20,000 or $50,000 to put the smoke into any of these things? I personally could do it to any one of those movies that you've seen. I could put the smoke in for $50K. You're not telling me that wasn't on the budget to not have that on set.
Yeah.
Because you can't have that on set. That's one of the things that, like, it doesn't make any sense to have this much smoking on set because you couldn't reset the set, redo the scenes. So it's an effect, I think. But I guess that there's 85% of that is an effect. And on the scenes where you're outdoors and you want the whatever, you can do it. But not inside. It doesn't make any sense that they would still be doing that inside a closed set environment. Especially when you're saying like this clean room. Is anybody blinking their eyes? Because I can tell you if they don't smoke, they're going to be blinking their eyes. And so when they're not blinking their eyes, that's an effect.
No, it never bothered anybody that they were
exactly.
around.
So it's like the wavy hair. That wasn't happening on set in Aquaman. The smoke isn't happening
oh my
on
God,
set
you're
in
throwing
these
back to
guys.
Aquaman. Oh my God. Okay. So
I hope for the actor's sake that it's
Right.
fake
So it
smoking,
took
but
me
it
out-
looks like
Yeah.
No,
and-
I'm not saying that it would be bad. I'm saying that at this stage, you know that there's effects in these shows. You know that there was effects in Maestro. Why wouldn't you just add on to the budget? We won't smoke on set. We'll do it after.
But I guess it wasn't so much that. What bothers me is I don't think these highly intelligent people would smoke like this, much less.
It's a character.
It was
just-
literally
yeah.
distracting at times. Like, come on, please. So, effect or not, it's the habit that bothered me because I did not think it rang true with these like highly intelligent, sophisticated. I mean, there were quite a few smoking. Like I said, and just acting as if this wasn't a thing, which on streaming, it's not. There are no regulations, so go for it. So I don't know.
But you think Asa Gonzalez's character was feeling like so disheartened about
ironically,
because it's almost like a slow suicide. To me, when I see a character smoking, I'm like, you are telling me something about what this character is going through that they're smoking.
Oh, wait, can I just say?
Unless it's in the future and they just didn't bother saying, "Oh, we cure cancer."
It's fine.
These are cancer-free smokes.
No, this is current
tar.
time. No, because ironically, after she basically aids and abets this massacre and then decides to go use her science for good purposes, I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah, good.
I didn't see any more smoking. So I'm just saying that it took me out, but it is. And I thought there were times with the writing, I was like, the writing at times, I will say, I thought was a little
skipped a bit
or repetitive or like, there are flaws, but I guess when you're dealing with an alien invasion, things like that can happen. And there's like a human, also assassin that carries out like the aliens' work here on the planet. I mean, there has to be a second season because it is not all wrapped up. The aliens are now 399 years away from being here.
Well,
no, I mean, I'm just assuming.
The wagon train of TV shows. Oh, they're coming. They'll be here next seasons, maybe?
Maybe. We're going to have to really
but
jump
it's based
forward.
off a book, so therefore is just like Game of Thrones. Are these two creators once again jumping ahead of where the writer is?
That absolutely is in their wheelhouse because that is what they did with the Game of Thrones. They were like, we can't wait, J.R.R. Martin, for you to finish up.
We're moving ahead.
So far, it sounds like the plot for season 2 will be the housewife that got the call tells her whole planet of aliens, FYI, Earth is up for grabs. And they're like, ooh, we've seen Earth. We've been there. No thanks.
Well, I always think of that movie, Tom Cruise, War of the Worlds. And also the Mel Gibson one that was so good, Signs.
Signs, sure.
I mean, do these aliens know if they're compatible with our planet's water and resources? I mean, they're just coming here nilly-willy, and it's like, you're used to
nilly-willy.
You're used to like suns. Like, we only got one. So, I mean, are we going to work for you? So
they land on our planet. They're like, oh my God, the gravity. We didn't plan for that. It was very heavy. Sorry, we're going to leave.
Oh, it's like Wall-E. Because actually, it's about how long they were all on the Wall-E ships. So, I mean, I thought it was fascinating. A little flawed. The cigarette smoking drove me crazy. But for sure, it's not wrapped up with a bow.
No, but I am enjoying it. And I mean, I didn't expect it to get wrapped up with a bow, but it is kind of nice to know going into the ending couple episodes that don't expect that. So, okay.
Apparently, there are more than 30,000 particle accelerators.
I was going to say
30,000?
They did series.
In the
Books in the series. That would be a lot. That would be a lot.
Yeah, they said in the show there were thousands. So yes, there are thousands.
Wow, that's so much more. That's a lot more than I thought.
Okay.
I mean, I think there are different types and different sizes. So that's,
okay.
I think, what like the Large Hadron, like, yeah, they're not all the same, which I didn't realize until I just looked it up while I was totally paying attention to you guys.
Science.
She
blinded me with science.
Do we want to talk about another show?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I can go on about this.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Well, just because we were talking about aliens, I did forget that I was going to talk about Resident Alien.
Oh, yeah.
Because that just wrapped up. Ed, are you watching it?
I was waiting for the whole season to drop so I could just like cook it in one weekend. So it just finished. I haven't done it yet, but that's the plan coming up.
So I just finished it, and it was a satisfying end of the season because it was like some storylines got wrapped up, and then other things are like, uh-oh, that's a big problem. We'll deal with that next time. It's like, oh, God. So, yeah, I love it. It's just such a great combination of kind of funny, kind of serious. There's some storylines this season that have been, in terms of like the family, you know what I'm talking about? That stuff's been very interesting. It's a really good show. And of course, we love Alan Tudyk. We mentioned him before. He's fantastic. Him playing an alien who still, after all this time, still doesn't really have it nailed how to seem human. So that's always fun.
How many seasons has it been?
This is the third.
Okay.
And it's very, very enjoyable. And that is available for streaming on Peacock. I have been watching it just off of Sci-Fi. I just have my DVR set up to record it. So that's where I've been watching it. But it's a very enjoyable show. So, Ed, I'm looking forward to you finishing so we can gossip off air about it.
I know.
So,
You're like, I'm going to bring up Resident Alien. Ed will be able to contribute. I haven't watched it. This is bullshit.
This is bullshit.
That's one of his bits.
That's one of his bits. And it does hold up that it is in this last season.
So very similar Alien.
A little bit different. Look, it's aliens and they're here and there is like a takeover plot. And what actually reminded me of it is there's something to do with this planet is not perfect for us. So what if we just fix this planet so it's perfect for us and nobody else? That's kind of a terrible plan for humanity. So anyway, all right. So that's Resident Alien, and that is wrapped up. And I have been enjoying that. And I hope and look forward to a season 4 because they did leave it on a note that was like, yeah, definitely we need a season 4. Okay, so I will move on to, I watched the movie Damsel.
Yes.
Damsel on Netflix. What? You're laughing?
I watched that with my 15-year-old son.
Oh,
which
okay.
Then had a running commentary through the entire thing.
I mean, that does seem to track. I would assume that he would have a running commentary.
Yeah.
I watched it alone, so I didn't get to comment to anybody.
So it is a Netflix movie
starring Millie Bobby Brown
from Stranger Things.
And she is a princess. We kind of joked about it last time because you had watched it. I hadn't watched it yet. And I had said, it looks like it's a pivot on a fairy tale, which it kind of is, but it's really, what was that Dragon Slayer movie in the 80s?
I wasn't alive yet.
What? Shut up. Does anybody remember this at all? Look it up.
1981 Dragon Slayer.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Who was in it?
I don't even know what this movie is.
What does it say?
1981's Dragon Slayer.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
You nailed it.
Wait, but who was in it?
I want to say it was the guy from Greatest American Hero with like the curly blonde hair.
Peter McNichol?
Yes.
Not from Greatest American Hero, from Ally McBeal.
Ally McBeal.
And Sophie's Choice.
And Sophie's Choice.
Ghostbusters 2. Super relevant references, by the way.
And Numbers.
And Numbers. Okay.
Yeah. That's not Greatest American Hero. You're insane. Peter McNichol is our favorite. He's a scientist.
He's a scientist.
Well, no, he's an art historian. I'm sorry. That's more accurate.
Okay.
Here you go.
I don't think I saw this.
I don't think this is a spoiler because just from the trailers you can tell.
A movie from the 1980s? No.
No. Well,
I know. Okay, so it's a pivot from Dragon Slayer from 1981.
100%. Because if I'm remembering correctly, which, hopefully I am.
This is helpful. Please continue.
Nailing it.
The premise of that movie is there's a dragon and you have to give it ladies to eat or whatever.
Oh, you do a sacrifice.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's that story, only they've really done a good job of making it much more sort of parallel, socially relevant to women's rights. And so, no, you didn't
Well,
agree?
yes, but I mean, this is, so Millie Bobby Brown and her younger sister, you have to be married off, right?
Yeah, they're not princesses or anything in this current situation.
Her dad's a lord.
Okay, so they are royalty,
right? And
but their land is doing terrible.
Their land's doing terrible, so the dad basically needs to sell the daughter to get a dowry or something that's of value. And I love gumption. I love the idea that she's just like, I don't want to be married to anybody. How dare you? And you're like, now that if you've watched the History Channel, if you've read some historical novels, you're like, you would have zero say.
Yeah.
It is, that is the greatest fictional part of this entire fucking thing. Forget the dragons, forget anything else, that you as a woman think you could be like, I don't think so. I find my own way. Don't marry me off. You're like,
that's more fictional than a dragon, that the woman would have any say. I love that. Okay,
it's basically sadly true.
My land is doing bad. I'm going to sell my daughter. Sells daughter immediately. That's how that goes back then. There's no no.
What
Dad,
was a commodity?
No. Nope. Bye.
And the dad and the stepmother played beautifully by Angela Bassett. So Lady Bayford.
Yes, she's the stepmother, and I love that they just call her stepmother. Stepmother.
Well, because they are really
stepmother.
annoyed by her too. I mean, there was some
Even though she was delightful. I mean, like, and kind to them. As, you know, the trope typically is that the stepmother is a real jerk. She was actually, like, looking out for these two stepdaughters.
But the dad thinks he's made a good match with this Prince Henry. And although the Queen Isabella, played by Robin Wright, but she can play an icy bitch.
Yeah.
The dad thinks he's made a good match, but the stepmother's instinct was like,
ooh, I don't like that.
I don't think this is good.
Yeah, I mean, Robin Wright was, as you say, an icy bitch. And she did a real good job. And boy, Angela Bassett's character was like, I don't think this lady is good.
No.
Yeah, no, she
And
nailed
Millie
it.
Bobby Brown plays the Princess Elodie. She went from like, I refuse to be being married, and then one walk in the garden with some barbs back and forth with Prince Henry. She feels she's got this nailed down. So stepmother, don't worry. I've got this handled.
Well, at one point before she even meets the prince, that moment where she's like, oh, I guess I have to do this for my people, which was really like sort of selfless of her. Not that she
Selfless!
had any
You have no choice.
Of course, of course.
And it's a sacrifice. Hence the entire theme of this movie. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, you know, when there's a dragon who's just up in their lair looking down at the village being pissed, you got to throw a virgin up there every once in a while to appease them.
Well, kind of. That was kind of the premise.
Kicking or
yeah.
dragging, you got to give it up.
Kicking. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But my main issue with it was, and I don't think this is anything against Millie Bobby Brown. I think she's extremely talented.
Yeah.
But the whole time she was in pain and like struggling and trying to get away from this dragon, she was making way too much noise. I mean, there was a lot of it was crazy. It was like the whole idea of like the dragon is looking for you. And she's like, ow,
Tiptoe.
ooh, ouch.
Ouch.
Yeah. You're climbing. It's like, no, shh.
And of course, there's to do the close up of the dragon's eye opening, like, I hear something. Like, that shit, she's so loud. Of course you heard it.
I do love the woman who voiced the dragon. She was in the movie House of Sand and Fog, like way back in the, I forget when. But
that's a real Debbie
yeah.
the Downer. If you want to get added depression on your life, that is with
But
Jennifer
she's-
Connelly.
Yeah, she's fantastic and pops up everywhere. And
she does a lot of voice work. She was in Arcane because her voice is very like gravelly.
yeah, it's great. It's distinctive. So as soon as the dragon started talking, I'm like, oh, I know who that is. Yeah, she was great, I thought. I thought the dragon was interesting, and then where they went story-wise with the dragon.
The dragon has a backstory. I mean, the dragons just
is nice.
They don't get pissed off for no reason. We as humans probably did something. Hello. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy the actual reason why, because the title of the movie is Damsel, like damsel in distress, but not Billy Bobby's character. You can't knock her down or throw her down a well of 200 feet. She's going to survive.
She's going to bounce.
She's going to bounce back.
In her big dress.
Yes, that actually helped. You know? Yes.
Almost. That probably would have been more
I will
helpful,
say this.
but yeah.
If you have, I think it'd be a great movie for our sister with her two daughters who are like 13 and 9. This is not adult watching, in my opinion.
I think that's a good.
And my teenage son was all the sort of plot problems he loved to point out and to be like, oh God. So
My one question plot-wise was, supposedly this kingdom is incredibly, incredibly rich. Where was all that coming from? Because they made, I mean, I don't have to give too much away, but they were appeasing this dragon. And a lot of times you feel like, oh, the dragon like somehow is giving you gold
or
you're
sitting on a huge thing of gold.
But that was not exactly it. But anyway, they were,
Well, they were an evil empire.
Yeah.
That really were suppressing people and young brides. So
quite a lot of them.
yeah. It's that timeline did not make total sense to me. It's like there's a lot of, to be totally crass, corpses down there.
Yeah.
So you're
well,
like,
they did say it was like 3 every generation. And I was like, every generation?
and there's a reason why it's 3 young brides.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I liked the end when we're talking about the dragon's backstory and sort of where that story went. I liked that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it has some flaws, but Billy Bobby Brown commits to it. She's enjoyable.
Yeah.
The acting is, you're talking about a lot of really high caliber actors in it. And the plot is enjoyable enough. And I think it's just sort of an age thing, like what's appropriate. I would not recommend this to like you two guys. No.
Yeah, no. I will say, though, it was picture book beautiful. Wherever they shot it / combination with AI, it looked amazing. You didn't think so? I
did, but I thought some of the sets felt a little like, this looks a little janky. I don't know.
Well, I think the landscapes
those are
amazing, and the exterior of the castle looked pretty amazing.
I am talking about the courtyard scene that with the almost like faux looking flowers like that.
The flowers did look fake. The flowers did not.
Well, listen, they should have been fake. You know why? Because they knew this wedding was a sham. So why spend the budget? There's no reception. There's nothing. She's going to get thrown right the hell over,
Yeah.
And there's a trick they play on the dragon, the evil royal family that all comes out too because Billy is so Billy Bobby Millie Brown Buster. Oh, there's a shoe. Most of you probably don't know there was a shoe company when we were growing up called Buster Brown. So I just incorporated it all together right there. So I do think, but she's so smart. She ain't no damsel in distress. She's just a damsel.
No, and she figures it out.
Yeah, very smart.
All right. So, that's it for me, I which also was for you.
Yeah.
So that was Three Body Problem and Damsel.
And we didn't watch it together.
We didn't. And also Resident Alien. But what do you have anything that you watched without me, Liz? Or that I did not also watch?
I am in stuff which I'll bring later because there's stuff that I'm watching that is I feel like I'm on like 2 or 3 episodes in, so there's a little
in progress.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to confess something.
Oh, confession time. Okay.
I have an addiction.
Ooh, okay. I can't wait to hear what this
To
is.
Law and Order, we already know.
No.
Oh,
True.
Another addiction?
True. And Sex in the City. But this is a new one starting about 2 years ago, and I'm going to call it my girlfriend, Lainey Ziv. It's your fault, you and your husband's fault. Because we went over to dinner one night, and she's like, let's watch Family Feud. I'm like, what?
Family Feud?
I was like, okay, I don't know what it is. First of all, it is on multiple channels. You can find it anytime, day or night. And it's got sort of sections to it where it's like, the intro, then there's the first questions, and it accelerates to, and sometimes they're like down to like the only one question on the board. Are they going to get it? And then the fast money. So it's like you can go like, oh my gosh, it's 11:25. Perfect. I'm going to get the last 5 minutes. It's going to be the fast money. So the last 14 years has been all Steve Harvey as the host.
14 years?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's been on since 1976 or 77. It's been around because we grew up with it and we did like it. It was originally created by Mark Goodson. And like I said, it's literally been around 25 years, something crazy. Did I do the math wrong, John? What?
Yeah, unfortunately, we've had almost 25 years in this century. Yeah. So
it's more like 50 years, people. Okay.
Long time.
Steve Harvey is the current host. He's been on for 14 years. And it's my man, Steve Harvey. And the suits that he comes out in, oh my God, what a peacock. I mean, it is just fantastic, his outfits.
I worked on a Facebook show for Steve Harvey for a little bit, and I found out that his son is actually his stylist. His son picks out those suits.
Wow.
Well, holy moly, you're doing a good job. They're usually pretty dazzling.
He's not afraid of color.
No.
I mean, he likes a bright colored suit.
So it's escapism in the sense that it's like these families. Obviously, they got to get along decently to come, right?
Well,
what?
Yeah.
I thought they were feuding.
With the other family.
Oh.
So it's 5 members on each one, okay?
And they have to be willing to coordinate their outfits. So that's something
my
right
God.
there
Some
about
of them-
those families.
Hold on, this isn't the Swans versus Capote's family?
No. Sometimes they are.
That's a different feud.
And it's typically, there's not really a lot of teenagers. It seems to be 18 year older for the most part.
Yeah, I don't think it is a young.
No, not typically.
Yeah, they don't usually have younger
I definitely at least watch one a day.
One a day?
Sometimes 2. Gets me in a good mood. Because it's the adults are just in a good mood. They're so happy to be there. Some of them are so incredibly starstruck by Steve. It's fantastic. They're all working together. They're all coordinated their outfits.
Love it.
There's usually 1 or 2 family members that are real dumbos. I mean, you're like, duh, there's
You're like,
no
that's a
way.
dud answer.
Now, I always say, they'll go this question is based on 100 married men. And I'm always, now Ethan says it too. I go, in the Mall of America. Because wherever they get these questions from, you have to think, how would Middle America answer these?
Yeah, wherever the polling is happening.
Right. And there are times, literally, some of the questions are so insane, and the answers, and they will not edit out if they're kind of racy or sexy answers.
Those are the fun moments.
And it's always like some preacher says it, and he's like, oh gosh, And you can go on YouTube, and there's great like clip packages of just some of the absurd things people say. And then you also have like Steve's reaction to it. And I love watching because they at some point figured out COVID, and they just spaced everybody out and didn't allow anybody to do fist bump or hug in, so they're like a mile away from each other.
Shooting this show.
Yeah. And super fun. And it's just one of those things where I'm telling you, rediscover it. It's on like 5 different networks. It's only a half an hour. And I have always a couple in the queue. The thing that does drive me crazy.
Wait, you record it?
Yes.
That I did not track.
Yes.
Can I make a confession? In our house, Family Feud is on quite a bit. Eric really likes it, my husband, and he will get very into it because, of course, it's one of the great play-along games.
Right.
Because there's the question, and whatever the answers are, you're immediately like yelling out like, oh, it's this answer or that answer. And then, of course, somebody will say, well, Steve, I think it's going to be this. And you immediately start judging their answer. You're like, no, Deborah, it is not going to be that.
You're like, I'm always like, strike. Like, I know it,
Yeah.
And Mark
But we don't record it. We don't.
So Mark has a theory when there's 8 answers on the board, and that's the most there can be. He's like, they should pass because no one ever gets all 8 answers, and then it goes to you, and you have a better chance guessing the like 1 or 2 remaining.
Strategy-wise, they almost never pass.
But when someone goes, I'm going to pass, Steve does a double take like he's been slapped. Like, what? You're going to pass? And like, we're going to pass, Steve. So, because you can guess and capture all the points. But
you only need to get 1 once they've gotten their 3 strikes.
Right.
So if you pass it over to the other side and they get 3 strikes, then you just have to get 1.
But here's one of my favorite things. So usually on network television late at night, there's like 2 or 3 back to back. And I love it when the same family keeps coming back. And you can only play up to 5 games. And on the 5th game, if you just win you're not playing fast money yet. You just won the game. You knocked the other family out.
What are you calling fast money? Is that the
Wait,
thing
hold
at the
on.
end?
I'll get to it.
Right, sorry.
God, there's a structure to this, okay?
No, there isn't.
So
Yes, there is.
you've beaten the other family. You got 300 points. On the 5th day, you win a car.
Oh.
And they all freak out and they run to the car. Then they come back and the fast money is like, you've got 20 seconds. You've got 25 seconds on the clock. And it's like...
it's the categories. It's that last standoff thing where it's one member and then another member of the family.
They pull out 2 family members.
Right.
One goes backstage, can't hear the answers, and the other one goes first. And you got to get 200 points to win the $20,000.
Which honestly is not that big. Of a payday
divided
for
by
5 people?
Okay.
Yeah.
I have never seen a family win. So potentially you could win $100,000 in a car.
Because if you win 5 shows in a row.
Right. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get the $20,000, it's like, okay, $5 a point, $500, but you're back tomorrow for the opportunity to win the car, but you got to make it 5 days. So my theory is, by the 5th day, because it's probably all recorded the same day. That's a Hollywood secret, because basically Steve Harvey probably goes in and tapes all the shows in a matter of like 8 weeks.
Yeah,
knocking out 5 shows a day for the year.
Yeah,
okay?
game shows do so many episodes back to back in a day.
For sure. They're cranking it out.
A lot. Mm-hmm.
So for a family who does not change their suits, they look so fatigued, some of them, by the 5th episode. They're like, let's just say like the Norris family's back to win the car day. They've been here 5.
They have not left.
They look like, oh my God. I mean, they look shell-shocked because the adrenaline, the up, the down, being sharp. And I'm always like, oh, they're not going to make it. They're not going to make it. I can tell. Now, if they're able to pull it out and win the car, that's such a huge adrenaline. Like, we won the car. And they run over there, opening the car doors and waving out. It's like, okay, who's actually getting the car? I mean, you're going to have to sell it. I mean, there's just not enough money for 5 people after taxes. So they're waving, they're high. Oh my gosh. And they come back and now they're fast money. And now the surge of adrenaline for winning the car, the crash. I mean, they can barely put 2 words together. They're so discombobulated. That is my favorite type of episodes. Like, oh my gosh, if they can pull out the car and $20,000,
good job.
I've never seen anybody win the car, and I'm sure it exists, but I haven't seen it yet, win the car and win the fast money where it's like, oh my God, they won $40,000 or $60,000 over the 5 days. It's
They won enough to pay the taxes on the car.
Right. I've never seen anybody win more than the 60,000. So they won 3 fast monies. So I mean, but I gotta admit it, I freaking love it. I love when Steve is obviously exasperated. It's like near the end of he's probably taped for 5 days in a row. And he's like, when they give questions, he's like, oh God,
He won't
even look at it. He's like, he'll just say like monkeys. Bah! He's like, he looks at them like,
He's like, yeah, monkeys
dumb.
is terrible.
It's on all the time, and like I said, it's adults for the most part being very happy, which you just don't see. And it's not complicated. Sorry, John. And it's not like Cash Cab where it's like really kind of like challenging questions.
Well, trivia. It's not trivia, really.
No. And so, but there are times like, I don't know what Santa would do the day after Christmas.
Go on vacation, Liz. He'd go on vacation.
Take a big nap. Like, you're like, okay. And so like, you're like out of 8, you're like, all right, take a nap, eat something. Oh my God, what's left? And they're like so fast. And you're like, what would Middle America? What would Mall of America say? That's
also the strategy in our house. It's like, it's not what I think the answer would be. It's what I think whatever this group would have thought the answer would be.
So I'm putting it out there right now. I would like us to go on Family Feud.
What?
I'm not going.
Fine. We don't need you, curmudgeon. I need very chipper people that will match me. I think blue would be a good color on us.
I would actually prefer if you guys didn't go also.
No, one of our cousins has already done it. And,
What?
That was bad.
And the Saunier family.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh my
Do
gosh.
you remember anything,
No,
Catherine?
I don't.
So
don't
I feel like we can
remember
go
anything.
on and kick their record's ass.
Oh, well, wow. That's a big
The
challenge.
California cousins. And I listen, production loves it. Like from Los Angeles, California, we are not paying for their hotels, car services,
just
or
drove
airfare.
here.
They just got here themselves.
And it's not even valet parking, so you better win.
All right, I'm just putting it out there. I think I might do the application.
Oh, wow.
I'm very
okay.
intrigued.
That just got serious.
But I'm sure I will be one of those people when Steve walks out, I'll be like, I'll be like, Steve Harvey in a lilac suit with purple shoes. I will be like, I can't.
Well, my husband Eric is definitely going to want to be involved.
I like when they have brother-in-laws and this and that. I like when it's always like, my fabulous brother-in-law, my cousin, my aunt. You're like, well, these are like all the offshoot relatives. Like, very interesting. All right.
Yeah, those are the only people you can get for this show.
John, I'm telling you in 2 seconds, I can have the 5 members.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think, well, also, we have a lot of siblings, so you probably
I don't
start
worry.
there.
It's almost like, who do I think is worthy to be on
Ooh,
Family
she would
Feud
cherry
with me?
pick the best.
All right, so that's my confession, and thank you, Lainey Ziv, for making me an addict to Family Feud.
Okay, Ed, you're up.
Well, I don't have anything I'm quite so passionate about as you guys, but I do have some series that I watched that I did enjoy. And I think we all know I'm a big fan of the Marvel universe.
Yes.
Yep.
And I put time in on the movies and I'll like rewatch a bunch. And sometimes I'll put the time in on the series and rewatch a bunch. And then sometimes I totally run out of time for the podcast. I only watch the new season of Loki. So I watched the new season of Loki. Although weirdly, I think that came out before the other series of Marvel that I watched, which was Echo. And I'll tell you, having watched both, the character in Echo progresses and learns so much. Loki's a time travel show, so it just resets itself so much that like maybe 1 or 2 of the characters learn anything in 6 episodes. Fine, whatever. I love the Marvel Universe. The characters move forward, but between the two of them, I'd love Echo to hook up with Loki and have a good chat. They need some heart-to-heart time between those two.
Remind me what Echo is, because I've watched the Loki.
Yep.
But I don't know what Echo is.
Echo's a newer one, and it kind of falls in the same category that Prey fell into, where it's explicitly about someone who's living in a Native American society. This particular character getting a superpower and having to come to terms with that. It actually envelopes in one of the Netflix Marvel series that they did, Sorry, not Dragon. You guys got me stuck on Dragon. Daredevil.
Oh, okay.
Daredevil actually shows up, but the main beat of the series is the bad guy in Daredevil, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, is in this as the same character he was in Daredevil. So it brings all those Netflix-only series into the fold with the current universe and series and characters, etc.
That's cool.
And not in exactly the same terrible way. He's a bad guy.
Well, you know what? I just looked it up, and the series Hawkeye, which I watched, and this is where you have the intro of her character, Maya Lopez, a.k.a. Echo, and she is so kind of like strong and dominant, and the name Echo is because she is...
Well, actually, in the series Echo, she's deaf, but it's not about echolocation like you got from Daredevil, where she's blind and uses sound to see everything.
Right.
She's deaf, so there is no sound. But the echo in this, her backstory, the Choctaw Indians, is like what they're leaning on. That's what it is. It's an echo of her past. It's all of the generations that we know and understand that that's how they appreciate, and that's their history, and that's their culture. It's brought into this series. So I really enjoyed that. That character moved forward. Loki, time travels. Basically, this whole season is a wash. It was a lot of fun, and we got Ki-Hugh Kwan, who's amazing and hilarious in this. But I think we're back to the end of season 1 now. It's fine. I enjoyed it. All good. So those are the 2 Marvel series that I'm just going to pass on. If you're already watching them, watch them. If you haven't watched them, get in there. They were really fast to watch, and between Echo and Loki season 2, I mean, you got a whole weekend between all 3 of those.
Yeah.
It's not that much time to commit. But speaking of not committing that much time, I've got 2 other things that I wanted to throw into this episode, which are just stand-up specials. So those are also one-off, really easy ones, not even as long as a movie. First one I wanted to bring was the brand new one from Notaro, her special called Hello Again.
She is so great. I love her.
And I'm like blanking on anything better than this bit. And I swear this bit is like the last half an hour of the show. And I'm not going to give anything away. You have to watch the special. But it is a concert piano on stage. And it's not even in tune. Don't worry about it. It's not a problem. You will just have to get on that ride. You're just going to have to ride that with Tig.
Okay. All right. I had been meaning to watch it, so that reminds me to go and do that.
All right. And the last stand-up special that I was going to bring is actually, we've talked about Hannah Gadsby on this series a couple times before. And so I saw her name pop up in my list of shows. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to watch this. It's on Netflix. Of course, I'm going to watch another stand-up special by her. And it's a showcase. The name of the stand-up special is Hannah Gadsby's Gender Agenda. So that's a fun little wordplay.
So she's more like presenting these comedians.
Exactly. So like,
love it.
What was the old Def Comedy Jam?
A modern day twist on it.
Yes, a modern day twist. So the special has like 6 or 7 different stand-up acts, and they're completely different flavors. Some of them are like real low level, like a Stephen Wright kind of level of like, almost not trying to get the laughs, but that
energy-wise?
Yeah, like there's some real low-level energy. There's some real high-level energy. There's some that are like specific to one person-ish in the audience. So like that's the bit that they're going for. Again, really enjoyable, and you do get a little bit more Hannah, just not like a full hour and a rabbit backstory or anything like that, like the last special. So I recommend both of those specials.
Oh gosh, I do love Hannah Gadsby, and I like the idea that she's, lending her voice to bring up other voices.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, cool. John, what do you got?
Sure. So in the theater, I saw Problemista.
I do not know what Problemista is. Oh, Liz does.
And
okay, yeah.
I unfortunately had not seen Los Spookies.
I do know what that is.
Yeah.
Okay,
so Julio Torres from Saturday Night Live, then did Los Spookies with Fred Armisen, now did this movie, written, directed, starred.
Wow, cool.
I mean, I think it might be a similar flavor that I was unaware of.
Oh, okay.
It's quite surreal and a little... I'm sure there's a million words like goofy. I mean, it's slightly silly sometimes. It's an interesting trip he takes you on in this movie in New York City. You should give it a chance, especially if you watched or liked Los Spookies, I think.
Also, Tilda Swinton. Come on.
Yes. She is a less nice version of Tilda. Not that she doesn't do that in certain things.
Right.
I'm sure it's come up. So that's certainly kind of a tough mirror for Julio, who is, I think, frequently playing a sweet or nice person. So that's challenging for him. That does not mean that he does not remain sweet and nice. So he seemingly maintains regardless of Tilda.
Interesting. Didn't he come from Saturday Night Live? He was a writer, I believe.
That's what I said. Yeah, he was a writer.
Okay.
So I don't think he was in any sketches, but yes, he was a writer. Infamously, perhaps wrote the Papyrus sketch.
Oh, which is really good.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a better thing, but that was the first thing that came up, and that stuck in my head. So there you go.
Solid one.
There you go. Did he have a HBO special that was like My Favorite Shapes?
Yes.
That's him, right?
Yes.
That was hysterical.
Well, This has been on my radar, but I didn't know it was actually in the movie theaters. I was like, when are you coming to streaming?
Someday, I'm sure.
On my watch list.
Love it.
I do have a quick question. Problemista makes me feel like there is maybe some Spanish in it, possibly even some subtitles.
Yeah, I mean, especially because Isabella Rossellini does the narrator, which that doesn't like help you really with where I'm about to go or what happens in this, because then what he does is there's quite a bit of looking back. So she does English, but then when he or his mother, the two main people involved in these flashbacks or that are still tied together in the present, they speak Spanish to each other. Then you get subtitles.
I forgot to mention during Echo, not only is it Native American cultures, but they speak in that tongue. So then that gets subtitled. And then also she's deaf, so there's a whole bunch of sign language that also needs to get subtitled. So it's a lot of reading. Don't do it at night.
This is not a heavy reading. He speaks with the mother like 5 times, and they're like less than a minute or 2 each time. So
Because Los Spookies with Fred Armisen, right?
Yes.
There was quite a bit of Spanish, if not 90%.
So much less, apparently.
Much less. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. And did you do a rewatch this week that we need to be aware
if
of?
you so demand, I could tell you that I watched, I think it was only for the 6th time.
Oh, only the 6th.
Is honestly unbelievable to me. I would have put this in the back of my head somewhere between 12 and 16, but I was obviously far, far wrong. But only 6. Triple Frontier on Netflix.
What is Triple Frontier?
First of all, don't even. Second of all, 2019, it was one of those beginning Netflix trying to do a big, spend a ton of money, make a big movie. Director is J.C. Shandor, which has done quite a few great movies, including A Most Violent Year. Written by Mark Bowl, co-screenwriter of Zero Dark 30. And this is similar but different. It's military.
Holy crap, the cast.
Exactly.
Okay, so who's in the cast? Liz has already looked it up, but she's tip-tapping really quick.
Oh my
But
God.
what is
Oscar Isaac, Ben Affleck, Charlie
Hunnam?
Pedro Pascal, Garrett
Edlund.
Hedlund, and I mean,
And Adriana Arjona. Yeah. Those 5 dudes. I mean, who doesn't love those guys?
testosterone. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta watch it.
And military. They're not in the military anymore, which is like you're getting a lot of real feels for like, ooh, how does that work? And maybe not great. Oh, okay.
Like the post-military life, you mean?
Yeah.
That can be really difficult.
It's it seems difficult.
You've watched this 6 times?
I'm sad. That cannot be right. It must be more than that, but I think it's only
Well,
6.
where are you keeping track of how many times you watch things?
Where I keep track of where I watch
Okay,
everything.
all right, because maybe
In
you
your
forgot
brain?
No, on a list. So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's some kind of Excel spreadsheet or something, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which actually doesn't go all the way back to 2019, so that could be part of the problem.
That could be part of the problem.
But I think I included that with my 6 estimate / certainty. So we'll see. I don't know.
Wow.
It just feels like more than that. I do like it a lot. It's one of I don't know if I've said this precisely recently, but I don't know how to qualify, but maybe a mood piece kind of thing. It's very similar kind of throughout the whole thing. So it's not like, oh, it's super happy, then it's super sad, and then you're having a party. It's like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to get. It's like, no, I can deal with this all the way through.
I'm going to need to watch this.
I mean, this is one of my favorite Pedro Pascals. He's very enjoyable in this.
Which
Okay,
also,
great.
how is he not sexiest man alive? For people, sexiest man alive, he is having the year. Like, he is amazing,
He'll
Pedro
get it
Pascal.
next year. Take
Did
it
you just
easy.
pivoted on that? It's like, wow, okay.
Well, I don't know. I thought it was
All right.
important
He's in
to
this
call
movie?
him.
Him now, though.
It's 2019 seems like a long time ago. It isn't. This is the same Pedro that you're getting. This isn't like, him and his 2 Law and Order appearances. That's not.
All right, I'm intrigued from your rewatch. Your rewatch, watch.
That's a fair point. Theoretically, that's why I bring these up, so that other people might also watch them.
All right.
I mean, if they garner a multiple rewatch from John, that's really saying something.
It's saying something for me. I don't think it's saying something for anyone else.
Well, I mean, it's saying something about that project that it's definitely worth watching multiple times,
For
according
me.
to John. Yes.
That's it. That's all I can claim.
For me, for now.
But I do, look, regardless of whether I'm right about it's only good for me, I do think it is very good. And so,
I do like Ben Affleck with full facial hair.
Yeah, this is an interesting Ben, kind of as he's gone back and forth. This was kind of in his slightly less, movie star phase of like, oh, I'm just going to be kind of a schlubby guy. But I'm still Ben Affleck and great. So I still do that very well.
But Oscar Isaac could not have facial hair at the same time, right? That would just be too crazy.
I don't know what games you are playing. These people just had whatever hair they had on their face. So, look, Pedro had facial hair. I think Charlie Hunnam, he had some as well.
Oh my gosh. I am like going to need to watch this tonight.
But yes, Oscar Isaac was like not clean. I mean, it was like I shaved yesterday. Maybe.
I'm still not recovered from his Dune beard. I mean, that was like it projected forward. Like I still don't understand if that was like his or
added on.
Yeah.
It's funny. There's a show that I'm watching that I haven't brought up yet that somebody did. It's not a beard. It's like a very partial facial hair. But when you saw it from the side, you did not understand what was happening.
I think that's what happened in Dune. I was like,
I had no problem with his Dune beard.
I did like it, but it was kind of crazy. All right. Well, I'm going to watch it for all the facial hair and just your recommendation.
Well, and also, John, I am shocked that I am not aware of this because this feels like
Eric
something
would
that
love
Eric
it.
would love. So if you come over and watch it with Eric, I mean, I
It
think
could be number 7.
yeah.
Sure. I mean, look, this is it's challenging to watch anything with anybody to get the time.
That's always
They
true.
have to be excited. Who's excited about a movie from 2019? Not many people.
I am now.
But also Eric would be because it's any kind of military thing. He loves that.
And no, this one is totally up his alley. You're absolutely right.
I have a weird question for Liz. Are there any military family feud episodes that you've watched? Family versus family.
Well,
beards versus beards.
When family members come in their full uniform, or a lot of like recent retirees.
Oh.
And Steve just loves it. I mean, he's like, thank you for your service. So the military is very well represented in Family Feud. And I mean, he loves a well-educated, like a kid in college. Oh my gosh, you get it, man. You get that. I mean, like, I just love Steve. And like I said, there are times you can tell he's in a good mood. Other times, like, ooh, something happened backstage. He's not happy. I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I don't know. I don't care who knows.
You can't cross those streams.
Oh, I did. All right.
Well, the last thing I want to say on Family Feud, since
Lord.
we just we're revisiting Family Feud.
I didn't bring these things up so that you guys could talk about those things.
Hush over there. The last thing I want to say about it is I also love when they do a show-themed episode. So it's like the cast from a show is the family.
Right.
Those are great. Those are not
Often like part of a rewatch or like, syndicated. I'm telling you, those are the rare ones you got to find on YouTube, which Mark has only caught me once.
They have to pay him more or something. I kind of doubt it.
I don't know.
I think they're probably just,
I don't know. It's hell of enjoyable.
I'm still working it over here. I'm like, okay, so the Atreides versus some other movie family. I want to see Oscar Isaac in his bearded Atreides-ness.
I mean, wouldn't it have been amazing if as part of Game of Thrones, when they were doing promotion, they had like the two families, the Targaryens versus the...
I mean, there's probably a Funny or Die.
How is there not a Saturday Night Live sketch?
All right, so let's just do a recap. So obviously, you and other people are watching Family Feud.
Millions of us are. Okay.
All right, I talked about Damsel, which you were also watching. I talked about Three Body Problem, which I am not quite done with, but you are. Those are both on Netflix. And then also I talked about Resident Alien, which just wrapped up season 3, available to stream on Peacock.
So I admitted to my addiction of Family Feud, which is syndicated on multiple channels 24 hours a day.
Well, I don't know if that's exactly accurate.
It is. I'm telling you, it basically is.
Between that and Law and Order, you've got everything covered.
And add a little dash of Sex and the City in there, yes.
And what is it, Young and the Restless? Is that your one?
No,
which one is
Bold
it?
the Beautiful. How dare you?
Well, they're young and restless. That's all I know. They're bold, beautiful, young, and restless.
And John and I are so far behind that sometimes I'll like sneak on social media to see where we're at. And I'm like, they have literally progressed the story no further along than 3 months ago.
Somehow it's the same night.
Pretty much. So I'm like, it's okay.
Speaking of not making any progress, I watched Loki season 2 on Disney Plus, as well as Echo on Disney Plus. And then on Netflix, I watched Hannah Gadsby's Gender Agenda. And then on Prime, Tig Notaro's Hello Again.
And then in the theaters, I watched Problemista. And then on Netflix, I watched Triple Frontier.
Love it. Okay, so that's it for this episode, and thank you for joining us. You can follow us on all of our social media at Podcast Watching, and that's it for this episode of
What We're Watching.